So I actually saw Mockingjay quite some time ago, and I actually did record a review for you guys, but unfortunately I recorded the whole thing while my microphone was off, so I had no audio, and I haven't had time to reshoot it until now. And by this time I think most of you guys have already seen it or know of it, or you know, whatever. So anyway, instead I'm just gonna talk a bit about my thoughts on Mockingjay. It's not really a review, but I still wanted to make a video about it. So the thing is, I think Mockingjay is a fine movie. It's not great by any stretch, but it is pretty solid. It's pretty good. The issue is, it's obviously a setup for Mockingjay Part 2. And it's kind of like, you know, Deathly Hallows Part 1, where you have a lot of like really cool cinematography, really cool build-ups and stuff like that. It's exactly like that. Like, I went into this movie expecting Deathly Hallows Part 1, and I pretty much got Deathly Hallows Part 1 all over again. Like, if they decide to take a break from releasing a Hunger Games movie every year like they do to obviously, you know, set up box office hits and whatever, I really wouldn't have minded waiting another year just so that I can watch like both parts 1 and 2 back to back. Of course, studios won't do that because they know releasing movies in 2 parts gets more money than releasing it just as a long movie. Which actually brings me to my next point. Mockingjay Part 1 is essentially an extended advertisement for Mockingjay Part 2, the real final movie of the trilogy. Because let's be honest, like, nothing much really happens in Mockingjay Part 1. I mean, you see a couple different plot setups, a couple different characters being introduced, but you're not really given any time to fully, you know, understand and develop these like plots and characters. So they just kind of like, when you see them in the next movie, and it's been a year since you watched Mockingjay Part 1, you'll be like, I remember that guy, he was in the last movie, but what did he do again? So that's like my main problem with the splitting the last movie into 2 parts nonsense. Like, the first part is always just like a build-up, an advertisement, like, you know, reminding you that, oh man, all the cool stuff is gonna be in Part 2, so make sure you come back next year, buy another ticket, and then go see the movie. Which brings me to an interesting question. I was discussing this with my friends, and we were thinking, what if Lord of the Rings Return of the King was released in this era of movies and cinema? Would it be split into 2 parts, Return of the King Part 1 and then Return of the King Part 2? Like, Return of the King is a fantastic movie, and it didn't have to be split into 2 parts. The Hobbit shouldn't have been 3 parts, like, it should have been maximum 2, probably would have worked as 1, I don't know. And speaking of The Hobbit, that's another thing that I was kind of annoyed with as well, the fact that The Hobbit was spread out over 3 movies. I mean, yes, we got to see more of Middle-earth, we got to see more of the characters that we liked from Lord of the Rings, but at the same time it's 3 movies that don't quite progress as fast as they could. Like in the first Hobbit movie, the dwarves spent too much time dicking around in Bilbo's house, like eating his food and stuff like that, and I'm like, okay, like, when are we gonna get to like the mountain and stuff? But yeah, I don't know guys, like, this is my opinion on like splitting movies into 2 parts, or like making 1 movie into 3 parts. I really hope Star Wars and whatever other new franchises or old franchises we have coming up don't start splitting too many movies into like 2 parts. I know Avengers: The Infinity War is gonna be Part 1 and Part 2 1 year apart as well, but hopefully it won't be for stupid like setups and advertisements, you know, like Mockingjay Part 1 and Deathly Hallows Part 1. So that was it guys. I wanna know if you guys think splitting movies into 2 parts is good, or splitting like 1 book into like 3 movies like The Hobbit is good. Like, which one do you guys prefer? Do you prefer actually having more movies that are split into 2 parts or even 3 parts? Or would you prefer having like just one condensed movie that covers the entire experience of the story and, you know, all that good stuff? So anyway, let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you guys next time.